generate electricity. We're looking at a renewed thrust for wind and hydro. With all these programs in place, affordability of power is going to be of very important, of great importance for the future of Indian industry, for the future of investing in India. I'm happy to share with you that the first 2 years, while they've been quite redeeming in terms of the outcomes of our work, we still have a long way to go. We are not at all resting on our achievements of the first 2 years. But clearly the first 2 years encourage us to think even bigger and to think even bolder. We looked at the sector with an approach to set the systems right, to set the policy right, rather than trying to resolve individual issues that were being flagged off soon after I joined the government. Our approach has been to prioritize the problems that the nation faced. Our approach has been to do a proper root cause analysis, understand where the problem lies, and try to see a policy direction or a policy change which can help address the challenges and the problems that we inherited. Our effort has been to convert this nation of perpetual shortages to a nation of surpluses. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to report to you that even as we were struggling with seeing how we could sort out the strike on the 2nd of September, when somebody asked me what will be the impact on the coal companies, I said, well, they'll probably be able to bring down their stock by 1 million tons or so, which will be some good news for the company. And really, we've reached a situation where the nation as a whole today has sufficient coal, both at the pit heads and at the thermal plants, that even if I was not to mine a single ton of coal for probably the next 50 or 60 days, you can rest assured that you will get an uninterrupted flow of power into your homes, your offices, your factories, your businesses. At the same time, we've also looked at affordability of power, and our effort has been to see what can we do to ensure that projects get completed in the desired time frame, the planned time frame. Stalled projects can get revived. The gas-based plants are a case in point where the support from the Power System Development Fund helped us revive roughly about 11,000 megawatt. There will be a 4th round of bidding which will start soon. And we are also looking at whether we could possibly look for even lower prices, given the international gas prices being much lower than what they were 1.5 years ago when we formulated this scheme. Also, given the fact that today the appetite for expensive power is not there. There's sufficient power available through the day, even in the power exchange. So you have the Vidyut Prava app, which I hope some of you or most of you do download onto your telephone, because it gives you a real-time data 24/7 of the availability of power anywhere in the country, all the 29 states of the country. And it also tells you at what price each state could buy power should they require any short-term power to meet their immediate requirements. In fact, this morning when Secretary Kerry and the Assistant Secretary Energy, Dr. Randall, and all of us were discussing, I had a chance to look up the Vidyut Prava. And we are gradually moving to a situation where at any point of time, across India, across the length and breadth of India, at one price, it was about $2 or $1.90 in the morning today, in the peak hours, mind you. You can get power across India at the same price, anytime, anywhere. And truly we are moving to what the Honorable Prime Minister said on 15th August, one nation, one grid and one price. That availability of power throughout the country at that one price, through the transparent bidding mechanism or through the power exchange, is the direction in which we are moving this nation. We have tried to control the increases in power tariffs over the last 2 years through cost reduction, through improvements in quality of coal, through coal rationalization, not through artificial means of subsidy. I mean, we have a situation where I think a couple of days ago, there was a comment being made that a particular state in this country was claiming the power cost or tariff in our state is so much lower than any other state in the country. But the fact is that that is so much lower not because you have run your power companies or your energy companies or distribution companies efficiently. It's low because you took money of the taxpayer in one pocket and in some sense gave back a portion of that to the taxpayer through a subsidy on the electricity tariff in the other pocket. So you say that you will reduce the power bills of consumers by taxing an individual, taking money from the individual on one head, and then artificially saying, okay, we'll give you a 50% subsidy onto your electricity bill. Now, that's not going to solve the power woes of this country. Ultimately, the only solution lies in sustained efforts to bring down the actual cost in the power chain, right from the raw material to the generation to transmission, distribution, the entire value chain will have to be addressed to see how we can bring down the cost of power for the nation as a whole. And if at all subsidy has to be given, it can be for the farmers of the country, it can be for the people living below poverty line. That's something all of us understand, all of us sympathize with, given the peculiar situation where farmers or the very, very poor people are unable to afford power at current prices. But other than that, I think the effort has to be to see how we can bring down the power bills of consumers through innovation, through technology, through better management of your resources. And that effort, ladies and gentlemen, has started bearing fruit. The distribution companies are showing a good effort towards turning around their operations. It's still a little early. Very often I'm asked, okay, so what is the visible improvement? We only approved the Uday Yojana, the Uday scheme, barely 7 or 8 months ago. And since then, the initial impact has obviously been on the financial side where the interest cost has come down. It's not as if the government or the banking system has provided additional capital to the discoms. We have not given one single dollar to any of the distribution companies in terms of subsidies or write-offs or write-downs. And that's the beauty of Uday. The Oswal Discom Assurance Yojana has attempted to ensure that the truant boy understands that he will have to bear the brunt of his misdemeanor. Nobody is going to come and fund you for your losses or for your mistakes or for your inefficiency again and again and again. Because till the person does not realize that so far and no further, he will continue to make losses. It is the first time a turnaround plan has been created without a single dollar expenditure from the treasury of the government. And that is the message that has gone to the distribution companies and the state governments. They will have to perk up their operations, improve their efficiencies, become more effective transmitters of power, distributors of power to the consumers, and will have to stand on their own feet. Now, that does not necessarily mean that overnight things can change, but we can clearly see the roadmap to the extent that a state like Rajasthan, which was in the worst state amongst all the states of India, Vasundhara Raje, the Chief Minister of the state, had inherited possibly the worst power distribution company in the country when she came into government in 2013. And when I drew up the contours of Uday, we had actually kept an enabling clause for a state like Rajasthan particularly, that they may not be able to turn around in the defined time frame, and we may have to give an extension or some more time to them. But I am delighted to report to you that given the results so far and the effort that the state government is doing in terms of trying to cut down the AT&C losses, cut down power theft, in terms of their effort to bring down the cost of generation, they are even open to the idea of partnering with the private sector in terms of their generating companies. So they are offering their generating company to any investor or any good power generator to come and partner with the state government, if necessarily even with a majority stake, but run the units more efficiently. So that is the level to which they are going to turn around their distribution and energy sector. And now I feel that even a state like Rajasthan would probably turn around along with the other states in the next 3 years and become a profit-making distribution company. 3 years. And the whole infrastructure, if you go to see, if all the states come on board and accept the various plans and programs that are a part of Uday, the country as a whole and the distribution companies particularly, which really ultimately translates to the consumer of India, will benefit by nearly $25-26 billion every year in terms of the cost on the whole system against a business as usual scenario. That is the game-changing potential of Uday. And I'm very confident, given the results in the first 2 or 3 quarters, rather only 2 quarters which have gone by so far, that the states are serious in their effort to implement the reform process. They have understood that this time around there'll be no clutches to hold on to. They will have to fend for themselves. And they've also very well understood that the hard budget constraint provided under Uday, by which in the future their losses are not going to be funded by any bank or any outsider. Any losses that the DISCOM does going forward will either have to be on the balance sheet of the state government, and I've used the simple logic of a holdco. The state government in some sense is like the holding company of the distribution company, which is a 100% owned subsidiary of the holding company. So I'm sure all of you appreciate that if the subsidiary is going to make losses, the parent company will have to bear the burden of the cross. And that's the only simple argument that we've used, that any further losses that your subsidiary does, either the state government takes it on their balance sheet or they give a 100% irrevocable guarantee and issue a bond to fund those losses. The banking system is not going to allow any losses to be funded, save and except the trajectory in the next 3 years to bring these losses down to zero. All in all, I see the power sector in a situation where going forward states can come up with innovative schemes to further reduce their power tariffs. Take the case of Punjab, for example. They came out with a new tariff for new industry. So they're set at a fixed price, which is much lower than their existing industry tariff. They're willing to give power for a long term to those who come and invest in that state. And I think the time is ripe that other parts of the country, and I'm going to urge the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra to consider a similar separate tariff window to encourage new investment in the country, in his state, to get new people to start consuming power so that the amount of generating capacity that the nation has today, and mind you, we have sufficient capacity today to expand our generation by nearly 50% over what we are already doing through efficient utilization of the existing assets. And once you add or the government's program on 175 gigawatts of renewable energy installed capacity by 2022, the forthcoming bids of UMPP projects that will come up very shortly, the current plans of many generating companies which are at different stages of implementation, when you put all of that together, my own sense is that in the next 5 or 6 years, India will have the ability to double its power generation, the number of units of electricity that we generate annually. And that gives confidence and comfort to investors to know that at any point of time, they will not have to be starved of energy or electricity. They will not have to fall back on diesel generator sets and expensive electricity to feed their manufacturing capacities or their businesses. Farmers will not have to be stressed that they may suddenly not get power at the right moment when their plants, when their field needs to be tilled. Homes will not have to run dark because of continuous outages, save and except states where I'm just not able to get my programs through or not get them to give power to the people. There are certain states which, for reasons best known to them, decide not to give power to their people, even after the government has provided the infrastructure or funded the infrastructure to take power to every home. So it's a situation where I have to work with the states, I have to get them along, I have to take them along. But so far the journey has been quite exciting, quite comfortable. All the stakeholders, not necessarily only the central government and state government, but even the private sector, the public sector undertakings, consumer bodies, I think everybody has played a role in this transformational journey of 2 years. Today I can say with satisfaction that our country has surplus ability to provide power to anybody in this country at any point of time. And this only is one aspect of the government under Prime Minister Modi's thought process and style of working. In almost every sector that we have taken up, be it financial inclusion, be it our effort to take social security to every individual in this country, be it our working towards taking universal health care so that 1.25 billion people in this country are assured of quality health services as and when they require them. Our effort to upgrade the educational system so that we don't have to fall flat and get a 74 out of 75 ranking in the PISA rankings going forward, and our children coming out of schools are better prepared in terms of the quality of education, our skilling program so that we provide necessary skills to the millions of youth who are looking for job opportunities, who are looking to set up their own small businesses, but need that little push, that little better understanding of a vocation that each one of them would like to pursue. Our effort is to look at the holistic development, be it the rural areas, be it urban cities, the transformation of farming sector into a more modern income-yielding sector, the effort to get clean water to every home in this country. All of these are not being looked at as short-term, the quick fix solution programs. On the one hand, we are creating a strong macroeconomy. All parameters, be it the fiscal deficit, the current account deficit, inflation targeting, hopefully better interest rates going forward. On the one hand, the macroeconomy is being addressed. On the other hand, the delivery of projects or delivery of outcomes out of the programs of the Government of India is being further strengthened and improved. Corruption is being addressed across the value chain so that India across the world is now recognized as a country where you can come and do business honestly. And each one of the programs is structured to a tangible, quantifiable result, an outcome that impacts the life of the common man of India. That holistic vision of Prime Minister Modi is sought to be taken forward by each one of my colleagues in different ministries. And we are fairly confident that the targets that we have set out, the effort that by 2022, when India celebrates 75 years of its independence, India should be a country where every person has a roof over his head, every person gets access to 24/7 quality power, every student in India gets a better quality of education, good quality schools and colleges, higher education. Quality healthcare is available across the length and breadth of India. Roads connect all the villages, all the different parts of India. Digital connectivity reaches a level where it becomes both affordable, faster, more efficient, and available throughout the country. And in that sense, the Connecting India story that Prime Minister Vajpayee initiated in the first tenure of the National Democratic Alliance, the NDA government, NDA-1 government, from 98 to 2004, that unfinished agenda of 2004, we would like to take to its conclusion, to its fruition by 2022. That's the effort we are all working on. That's the effort where we seek your support, guidance, ideas, suggestions as stakeholders, equal stakeholders in the system, because none of this is going to be possible unless, as Prime Minister says, 125 crore Indians work as a team. And when each one of us takes one step forward, I think the nation will move 125 crore steps forward. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to open the floor to questions. I will. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now open the floor to questions. And can we please request Mr. Ramdev Agarwal to please join us on stage? Please raise your hand and we'll have a mic brought on over.
Can I ask?
Can I ask?
Thank you for this opportunity and warm welcome to Motilal Oswal conference. And I'm so happy to see you here. One of the things is that globally, it is very unique kind of situation. I mean, you're a banker, you're a chartered accountant, you understand this. There are 13 trillion worth of bonds are negative interest rates, and more bonds are going there. And you can appreciate what is an opportunity here. I think Mumbai itself can use, I think, $500 billion. And yet nothing is, I can't see that happening. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And India only can, actually, opportunity is so big that India can actually pull the world out of this problem. And I don't see that kind of a dialogue I can see newspapers have changed. Prime Minister has been talking about transformative ideas. So, isn't it once in a opportunity?
Yeah, that's a good thought, actually. We have also not applied our mind to it, but as I look back, in NDA 1, the then government had actually refinanced a lot of its debt and brought in lower interest rates. Probably Rana may recall those days. A lot of the old debt was refinanced, the cost to the government was brought down in a one-time hit. In some sense, very similar to the Uday program. The Uday program is also seeking to do that. I agree with you, India, and I'll take this thought across to the finance minister when I meet him tomorrow. We should look at a twin track. A, getting new money to come into India in bigger measure for investment, particularly with negative interest rates prevailing in large parts of the world. Of course, there one will also have to balance India's sovereign ability to borrow and the balance sheet of the nation in terms of how much debt as a nation, international, external debt we want to carry on our books. But any case, India is a low debt country. Overall, our external debt is still quite low, and maybe a good idea to look at longer tenor debt today and cut down on the short term.
The instruments can be, there could be a lot of possibilities.
So when can I expect a note from you on this?
I'll write.
I'm serious. Yes. And to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, ideas is what is going to make or break this nation. And clearly, the few of us sitting in Delhi don't have any propriety on the best of ideas. We learn from engagements with all of you. And you are really the experts in your respective fields. So please share with us your thoughts, what can be done smarter and which will benefit the nation. So please, Ramdevji, do write me.
What a little I can write, I'll write.
Yeah, and once I get some traction or they see some merit in that, maybe Motilalji, you or a team of you all could come and do a presentation to the finance minister or to the concerned officials.
Yeah. Second, another thing, since you are in Mumbai, one of the things is that the savings, any country, any family is built by its own savings. I'll be rich because how I invest my own savings. Nation has, with $2 trillion, even 30% savings, we have $600 billion. It's a lot of equity money, lot of equity money. It's all going to wasteful things. And now with the digital tracking and the kind of government we have, and there is an action. I see so much of gold is being bought. Why can't we just ban the gold? You can say that every marriage can have only 10 grams of gold. Listen.
Charity begins at home.
Yes, no problem. My home, I'm done. So, so what I'm saying is that in 70s when we were growing, that time the rice was being, I was in Nagpur, we were allowed to have rice only twice in a week. It was such a big problem. So why do we have to have gold?
Well, I think the way the world has moved, Ramdevji, banning a product or banning availability of gold or amount of gold one can do, to my mind, is not the solution. It can only lead to more smuggling, or people will find a way, circuitous way around it. The better way is if some of you can sit in a small team maybe and help us improve, let's say, on the gold monetization scheme. Yeah. If you can help us devise ways by which we can reach out to more people to explain the merits of investing more wisely rather than in a dead dud asset like gold. Ultimately, the small consumer of gold or the people in the villages are looking for safety, security. They are still not financially literate enough to be able to understand that gold in the long run. I remember many years ago I read a study, I don't know if it was genuine, or maybe you all could test it out, that if one was to look at the gold price 100 or 200 years ago and just put the bank interest on that over the last 100 years, you come to the gold price of today. That's what I was told. It may have its ebbs and troughs, but ultimately it only keeps pace with the bank interest. And I'm told the same goes for property. Yeah. If you look at Manhattan prices 100 years ago and today, I'm told if you add a bank interest as it prevailed each year, it probably brings you to the Manhattan prices of today. A study like that, Motilalji, would be welcome if it can come. And it can help us to explain to people that, look, don't put your money into dud assets. Invest it wisely to get better returns.
So, wider point was, one is that just the gold thing we got drifted, but how do we encourage the financial inclusion and more particularly the equity? See, ultimately, this country will be built by we owning the businesses of this country. And we have sold out the whole business in here. Our best of the banks are owned by foreigners. And day by day, good businesses are being sold out to foreigners. And domestic equity is going into the fixed income. Because the way regulatory authorities have come in, I'll tell you, when we started business in 87, if you wanted, say, you like some shares, and I meet you first time, if you say, Ramdev, go and buy 100 shares for me. First, we'll buy the share, and next day evening, we will ask Piyush ji, aap apna address de dein, so that I can send you the contract. And after 15 days, you send me the check. And that system, with no technology, worked perfect. Today, in the name of KYC, if I have to issue a new account for my son, I think it will take 7 days. So what I'm saying is, if you allow today if you want to buy gold, you can go in any nook and corner of India and you can buy the gold in next half an hour. Not shares. So what I'm saying is the asset class
it's a good point.
What asset class we are promoting?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think only all of this, I just signed some documents probably a few days back, and you're right, it takes some 50, 60 signatures. That's right.
The beauty is he's giving money, he's not taking money.
So we'll have to call Mr. UK Sinha into the conference tomorrow.
I didn't say SEBI.
You're worried about your category 1 merchant banking license. No, but on a serious note, I wish, again, it's something, we all know about it. Even I knew it, you all knew it. But it's something where, till we sit down and we study what is the international practices, what are the best practices other parts of the world, what is the essential data required to make sure we don't fall foul of that fatka or whatever the Americans have come out with. I wish 3-4 of you sit down, study international best practices, see the Indian practice, try to figure out that where we are going wrong. For that matter, even an agreement in India, we sit and initial every page. I think that's so stupid, right? Nowhere in the world I think we have to initial every page of an agreement. But over the years we've got into certain systems and we just continue it. I think the document I was signing was a car loan, right? And for that I probably must have made 40-45 signatures. So these are areas of simplification where we will need your help also. The Rana or Kotak Bank or the 3, 4, 5 people who are involved, let's say in giving car loans, ICICI, Kotak, this and State Bank, 4, 5 people, if they sit down and come up with what we need to do as government, we are happy to do. If you tell us what we need to do to bring down this KYC to what is bare bones essential, and by which whenever we require we can trace a person, then I'm happy to come along with you to SEBI and
Sir, he is giving money, you don't have to find him. He has to find you. I mean, actually...
Yeah, but if bad money gets into the system, it has its own consequences. So I think the KYC is not because of one-way traffic, it's two ways. You also want to make sure that bad money doesn't get into the system. So please apply your mind and come up with a suggestion. And I'm happy to, if I'm convinced, take it forward to whatever level it requires. But it's ease of doing business and simplification is our mantra. Yeah. In fact, all that you said is music to my ears. So we would love to do what you said.
With that theme only, that ease of doing business.
What's the time frame in which I will get this report?
We'll do it. I mean, I'll take holiday and do it for you.
See, give me a time. Yeah. I'm not asking you whether you take holiday. We are in any case not getting any holiday.
No holidays.
I've got 3 days holiday in the 2 years and 3 months so far when my son graduated. So you tell me the timeline so that we close the loop. Otherwise this will be one more conference. I would have come from Delhi, addressed it and gone back, and after 1 year you'll call me again and say the same thing.
Yeah.
No. So give me a date when you will give me this. So, and that's the only way we have been able to do whatever little bit we have been able to do in the government of India.
Yes.
Whatever comes up, for example, 3 or 4 days back, a private sector person, sent me a message, and I'll share it with you on just an SMS, in which he said that now that we have better technologies, why don't we amortize the costs of a transmission line instead of 35 years over 50 years? And why don't, now with better supercritical thermal plants, why don't we amortize it over 35 years instead of 25 years? Just an SMS, it's still there. I'll tell you afterwards, he's a friend of yours also, sent me the message. I like the idea. I immediately sent it to my JS who's handling regulation. She's already working on it. And yesterday I had sent her a message what happened, and she said we are fast coming to a resolution of another issue that she was working on. I said, no, I'm asking you about this issue, this 50 years and 35. She said, okay, I'll get back to you. So the pressure has to be on the system for performance and delivery.
Sure.
And that has to be two-way. You come up with a suggestion, then you act on it. So once again, what date will I get these 2 reports? One on gold monetization or how to improve domestic savings going to productive assets.
Yes.
And the other on simplification of the investing community's woes. Motilal ji, you want to give me a date? 1 week for both?
Yes, both.
You will be busy with your conference. Fir mat bolna main busy tha 4 din.
No, I'll do it. Next week. I'll definitely send it.
So today is the 30th of August.
Yes.
And we have Ganesh Chaturthi coming up, right? On the 5th of August.
6th,
so I'm in Bombay on 5th and 6th. So
I'll
come over and give it to me on 5th or 6th.
I'll give you on Ganesh Chaturthi. Yes.
And you know my home, it's very close to you.
Yes.
Great.
Very good.
Sir, now that you talk, it looks so easy, today, and it's a matter of happiness that we have solved the problem. But only 2 years back, we were supercritical. 4 days of coal was not there in 50% of thermal plants in this country when you took over. Obviously, the masterstroke was paid by the Honorable Prime Minister by giving the same ministry, coal and power, to one minister. But what was going on in your mind? It looks easy to us today. But I'm sure you must have spent sleepless nights to make it look so easy today for us. What was the first thing you wanted to do? And how do you did it?
I'll tell you, it wasn't all that difficult. Certainly, we've had sleepless nights, particularly when the challenges kept aggravating. The coal blocks got cancelled on 25th of August, and then 25th August, the judgment came holding it irregular, and 24th of September, they said all cancelled, 204 of them. So like that, we've had these hiccups and these big blows coming at periodic intervals. But I'll tell you why I never had a problem. While working hard has never been a problem, at least those of my friends here who know me know enough that if you want, I can work 3-4 days without sleeping also. That has not been the issue, and I don't take any credit for that. I did it in my earlier avatar, and it's my duty to do it today also. The advantage was twofold. One, I had a decisive leadership to back me up. So with Prime Minister Modi, Finance Minister Jaitley, my party president, all of them willing to back up any good measure which helps the country and the people of India all the way to the hill. And with that kind of decisive leadership backing you up, we do that in our businesses, right? If our investor on the machine makes a bad call and makes a mistake also, I'm sure Ramdev or Motilal ji don't castigate him and kick him out. They tell him, don't worry, maybe you didn't think of this aspect. Next time be a little more careful. So when you have that kind of a leadership behind you, it gives you a lot of encouragement to even experiment with some bold and beautiful measures, right? Second, I only use my 30 years of experience in the real world outside government to bring in those management philosophies that I would use in my days and years when I was running my own industry, the years that I worked as an investment banker. All I did was bring that into the working of the government. So we tried to bring in some innovative financing models. We tried to go back to first principles and do a root cause analysis to every issue that got flagged off with us. We tried to prioritize that, look, unless I solve this problem, doing anything else down the line makes no sense. So without coal and enough power, even if I set up transmission lines or I sort out the distribution company's problems, people are not going to get benefited from that. The DG sets will still run. So we had a value chain, and till we sorted out each link in that chain, we didn't rest. So, and you all know this, all those old dialogues we use whenever we have to give a speech to our team in the office, that the weakest link in the chain defines its strength. We've done all of that in the private sector. We did all of that in government now. That's all, nothing else. And fortunately for me, I had a lovely set of bureaucrats and teams in the public sector undertakings who were actually desperate to do a good job. All they needed was empowerment. All they needed was a vision. All they needed was an honest leadership, and which Prime Minister Modi was able to give them.
So I just want to put on record my personal appreciation for the excellent work which is being done by this government in the economic area and the power ministry in the whole, and we can see the results for ourselves. Now, my question that I want to ask was one of verification. Now, if you're doing a good job, you need to verify that it's actually being done, right? Now, I'm referring to a news report which came recently on television, which basically went to various villages in, I think it was UP.
Nagla Fatla, you're referring.
And found that actually some villages which were claimed to be electrified were not electrified. Now, my question is there any a measure that you're taking about the process of verification itself, number one? And let me just add an addendum to this. And the reason why I'm keen that this be done is that if you have to fulfill the vision of 2022, you have to also overcome a hurdle in 2019, and that is get re-elected, right? And these kind of things can actually, you do 95% of the job, and the last 5% doesn't get finished. The amount of electoral price that you might have to pay for it, in addition to the fact that it is objectively important in itself, is the reason why I'm raising this.
Very good question. Thank you very much, sir. You'll appreciate that the Ministry of Power has about 300 people working for them. The REC, which funds this entire schemes to take village electrification, would have a similar number working for REC, because It's not like a bank with branches all over the country. It's an institutional financing company. Now in this situation, we have work going on in thousands of villages to take electricity to the villages for the first time. We have work going on in lakhs of villages, lakhs, for intensive electrification, which means you take it to the hamlets. In Hindi, they say the tola, dhani, majlas, in our villages. We have to take electricity and the wiring and everything to every part of that village, very often spread out in large areas. Now, when this work is happening over thousands of locations all over the country, very clearly the work cannot be done by the government of India. We fund the work and the work will be executed by the states. And in a federal structure, power is a subject which the states control. I set policy, I can fund it, but the work is executed, monitored and delivered by the state governments. Now you have a very valid point that, okay, if the state governments are truant, then all my work will go to naught. It's not as if every state government is truant. After all, across the country, work is progressing. It's happening very well in many parts of the country. In fact, I thank the Prime Minister for choosing Nagla Fatla. I didn't tell him to choose Nagla Fatla. There are 10,100 villages who have received electricity for the first time in the last 16 months. And it's all on my apps. And many of you may be aware that I keep launching an app every few days. I've just launched 2 apps last week. And my mechanism of monitoring, and I've been ad nauseum repeating it all across the country, is all of you. The whole purpose of the level of transparency that we have brought in, and the fact that every information is available on my mobile apps, is for all of you and the people of India to monitor my work, hold me accountable, and flag off the discrepancies. Because clearly, Nagla Patla also, I have put out now all the records in public domain, and the whole discourse has now changed to asking the state government, why the hell did you lie about the electrification not being done? And if it has been done, which it actually has been, then why did you not give them power for 9 months? The story is as follows. Taking this example so you understand the problems we face. Nagla Fatla is a village which used to draw some electricity illegally through the Katia connections. You just hook on the transmission line and you take power in some homes. The officers and the state government, you know how it is. Probably hand in glove, they used to take these connections illegally and probably pay some money also every 2 months in terms of their bill for taking this power theft. But obviously, government cannot accept that now that there is thievery going on, that village is electrified. So the state government writes to the central government sometime in 2013 with a detailed project report that so many villages are unelectrified and we need funds to electrify them. Nagla Fatla being one of them. And in that report, they say zero infrastructure is available there. And they say 0 households have electricity there. They are right actually, because whatever connections were there were illegal. Ideally, they should have cut those connections and filed cases against those people instead of being hand in gloves with them and allowing it to happen. Cut to the present, the central government, even before I became minister, sanctions electrifications of Nagla Fatla. They provide funds to the state government. As recent as February of 2015, the state government reconfirms in a list of villages to the center that Nagla Fatla is not electrified. As recent as 30th October 2015, they send us a report that now the work is complete. We have taken electricity to Nagla Fatla. On 24th November, 5 officials of the state government sign a document which is called an energization verification certificate. So they have verified and they've drawn a line diagram. It's probably available. You can see it on my tweets or on my Facebook and enough press reports also. There's a line diagram showing every home to which electrification has been taken between February of 2015 and October 2015. And we have received a claim in the government to reimburse them the cost of that electrification. So 24th November, we received a certificate. Energization has been completed. It's duly verified. 5 officers sign and give it. Now, we are living in a federal structure. The day I start disbelieving a colleague from the state government, after all, he's also an IAS officer or a government servant working in the state. If the state disbelieves the center disbelieves the state disbelieves Bombay Corporation disbelieves the collector. If that system starts in India, then the entire administration of the country will collapse. We have to trust each other. And we trust that if 5 officers write me a certificate that it's now energized, then I declare it on my Garv app that this village is now duly electrified. And the PM was free to choose from 10,050 odd villages that were electrified till 15th August 2016 to choose any village and announce it. Because it's all on the Garv app. And it's available to all the people of India also. Every village that's got electrified. Every village where any work is happening. The amount of power given by each state to their users. Every piece of information, the price at which power is available, round the clock through Vidyut Prabha. The amount of times there is power cut in different states through Urja. All of these apps are on my phone and you can get all of them yourself. Put it on your phone, monitor my work, and when you will find out discrepancies, we'll be able to haul up people. Fortunately, the PM raised this issue on 15th August. Are you aware that by afternoon and the Nagla Patla residents, despite electricity having reached them, the state did not give them the power. So there were still most of them living in darkness, except those who were doing thievery or power theft. The day PM announced it, in the afternoon hours of 15th August 2016, power started flowing through the transformer to all those homes who had been electrified in the last 1 year. So this is a case in point which has really helped show the people of Uttar Pradesh what is the state of their government. They put in the infrastructure with our funds, but yet did not give power. And therefore, very soon, in 6 months' time, they'll have an opportunity. We won't even have to wait till 2019 to reflect on the working of the center and on the state and give their verdict in the elections.
Mr. Rana Kapoor.
You can ask me offline if you have a follow-up. But I'm happy to answer openly also. I'm okay. Go onto my website. I have said this 50 times in public engagements. And 50 times. And I'm asking all of you, please see our apps. After all, my colleagues sit and work on all of this so that the transparency reaches the people of India. And I'm on 50 occasions. You'll find speeches on my website 50 times asking the people, asking the media to please take this message. That wherever it's written on the app, if anything is inaccurate, please flag off, because I am dependent only on the states for all this data. My 300 people cannot go and monitor. Now, Nagla Patla, it's electrified. After that, whether every day, morning, evening, they are getting power or no, is for the local people to demand and for the state to give. Sitting in Delhi, I cannot transmit power to the house in that village. But if the Nagla Patla people, like now they've got power, if all the other 10,000 village people start demanding of their state government, the country will be a better place to live in.
Sir, earlier Ramdeo spoke about how to reduce the economic cost of funds. Number 2, to increase the savings propensity in our economy, which is vital for investment and capital formation. And 3, to stimulate the investment climate through superior e-governance tactics, which I think were the 3 headline points he made. Sir, I have reason to believe that one of the biggest wealth of our country is actually below the earth level, right? In the ground. And I was particularly pleased when the Prime Minister, the Honorable PM, assigned this portfolio additionally to the cluster of portfolio ministries you manage. Sir, just like you made a global success, a local success, a domestic success of the sunrise opportunities in the renewable energy sector in the country, which is resonating now all over the world. Similarly, I know it's only been 60 odd days. Sir, what are your plans for tapping the real mineral potential of our country, given our geology, given our overall topography? How do you plan to do this, sir? This is somewhere the magic wand is required against.
Absolutely, and it's possible, and I'm very confident we can actually double our mining output in the next 5 years very comfortably. We have enough natural wealth below the ground, and frankly, in any nation's development, it is such wealth. It's either the agricultural produce, which is a new produce, or the mining activity, which is something you take out from the land. This is what is wealth creating, or what you create or produce, manufacture and export. Ultimately, the wealth is being created out of these aspects of the economy. And I fully endorse what you said. There's huge potential. I'm not trying to hold a brief for any shortcomings in the work that has happened so far. But the fact again is that these mines have to be auctioned by the state government. In coal, at least being a mineral which was under the control of the central government, I could auction it myself. Even there, the final mining lease is from the state government. Here, even the auction has to be by the state government. But I've already started a dialogue. I'm talking to several states. One big lacuna, and you'll be shocked to hear, to date, India has not even explored what is the potential of the natural wealth below the ground. So when I took charge, I was trying to understand what is the available data on resources. It's so minuscule that we have only been able to identify 100 mines today, which can be up for auction. To my mind, we should have 5,000 mines which should be out there in auction process. So I'm taking up on a mission mode. At the first stage, the satellite mapping, which gives the first indication of where the mineral wealth is. So I've asked my teams to, and that also to do it faster, I've told them, break India into 4-5 pieces so you can give contracts to different companies to map out areas where we can locate wealth. Second, I'm also new to the field, I'm learning. And once I have that data, I'll be able to encourage states to go in for faster auction for people to mine in those areas. I'm quite confident that with the support that most of these states so far have given me, we'll be able to double the wealth of India, the mineral output of India in the next 5 years. Again, if any of you is interested in my prioritization agenda on this, I've asked my office to draw up those minerals which we are still importing but are available in India. Bauxite is a case in point. I'm told we have bauxite in areas in Rajasthan, but we are still largely dependent on imports. So I'm focusing first on minerals where we are continuing to be dependent on imports so that that part can be first addressed. But of course, all plans will work simultaneously.
Ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely.
Good evening, sir. There are like certain incidents which have been happening in the country, and they have just made me very curious about why the government has this policy regarding a particular segment. So there was Jat agitation, then there was Patel agitation in Gujarat, then the IIT fees had been waived off for a certain sect. I don't understand why don't we have reservation based on the financial status of a particular person? Like why? What is the logic behind the government having this policy?
Madam, it's a fair point. It's a point on which this nation has agitated and debated for many years. But I would only urge you to reflect on this back home, maybe do a little research, go into the history of this problem, and you will find that as a nation, there are certain sections of society which have been deprived of the benefits of development, or which have been actually discriminated against for centuries. And these sections of society over a period of time have almost got into a ghetto mentality. And for no fault of theirs. I mean, you are also aware that there are still places of worship in India where certain people belonging to a caste within our own community, within our own religion, are still not allowed to go. Or there are still certain wells from which they may not be allowed to draw water, whatever may be the legal provisions which we have already created, and whatever may be the economic standing of that person. It is not related to his economic standing, it's related to his birth. Now, these are certain realities that India has inherited over several generations and centuries. We will still need some more time to bring them, include them into the national mainstream, give them that confidence that this nation treats them with equal respect. They have an equal opportunity to grow, to partake in the wealth of the nation, to partake in development. And to that extent, the Constitution had allowed some of these sections to be given certain privileges. There's also a large section of people who get some privileges based on economic criteria. It's also prevalent in many parts of the country. And I think the nation has not yet reached a level of maturity and development that we can completely do away with these affirmative action agendas to support these, in Hindi they say in English is the deprived sections, but the Hindi word is even more powerful, जो पीड़ित और शोषित रहे हैं, जिनके साथ अन्याय हुआ है, जिनके साथ एक प्रकार से we have been so unfair to them that, you know, sitting in this 5-star environment, in our homes with our children getting internet and air-conditioned rooms. I did my CA studies sitting in an air-conditioned room, mother knocking to bring fruit juice to you, servant knocking to bring a nice thali of food to you. Go to the villages sometime. I'm of late discovering India, a new India which I also did not know 50 years of age. When I go to the villages where the coal is being mined. So you have coal being mined because of which all these lights are working here. But his home is 1 kilometer away. But he doesn't have electricity in his home. He bears the brunt of all the environmental impact. But what does the nation do for him in return? So there are certain harsh realities of India which in sitting in these environs, we really cannot recognize. Once you go there, spend some time there, your heart will beat for them. You will want to do even more than what is being done today. So give those poor another opportunity. Give those deprived sections of society a chance to come up in life. It's very easy to say everything should be merit-based. But how can your and my family member, my child, with the kind of background and the kind of facilities within which he's studying, the knowledge, the availability of, at the touch of a button, he can Google and find out anything that he desires, compete equitably with that child who doesn't even get a teacher coming to his school every day, who doesn't get ability to go on to even the television, forget internet. I think till we reach a certain level of development, the country owes it to that section of society. And I think we should continue that affirmative action.
And one final question. Yes.
Sir, I'd like to ask you a question on coal. Firstly, I have to compliment you since you took over. The coal production in Coal India and the public sector unit has shown an all-time high. We had an 8.6% growth in the coal production of Coal India, a 14% growth in Singareni. And there was a drop in the private sector coal production by 30%. So the net increase was about 6%. Now with the 6% increase, we raised our pithead stocks to about 80 million tons, both at the power plants 27 million tons and at the coal mine pitheads. My question is that with the power plants working on an average plant load factor of 62 to 64%, is your target of 1 billion tons of Coal India and 1.5 million tons for the country for 1920 still sustainable?
Yeah, very much sustainable. By the way, so that some of you who are worried about the plant load factor, please appreciate that the PLF is low because we've been able to complete a lot of the stressed and stalled projects. So we've added significantly large capacities, and therefore the PLF is sounding low. It's not as if power demand has fallen. Power demand has been growing 7% for the last 2 years. Current year also is growing at about 7%. So please, nobody get the impression that PLF is low means power demand is low. Demand is keeping pace with the growth of the economy. It's growing at 7%. It continues to grow. It's only that we've added nearly 86,000 megawatt of capacity in the last 4 years. In the last 2 years alone, about 50 or 55,000 megawatt of thermal capacity. Plus the stalled gas-based plants we've got into operation. Plus, at one point of time, we used to have loss of power generation because of no coal. That is history now. So all of these are the reasons that PLF sounds to be low to some people. So just wanted to set the context right. But as an aspirational nation, as a nation which aspires 24/7 power for all, as a nation which aspires to increase manufacturing share to 25%, as a nation which aspires to take infrastructure to every nook and corner, build new ports, highways, roads, airports, connect the landscape of this country in every which way, build new homes, build new schools, colleges. With all of that, I would, and of course also replace diesel locomotives with electric locomotives in the railways. Go in for electric vehicles. I personally believe 2030, India should aim for a completely electric mobility in this country. With all of these plans, I see the power sector and the demand for power growing much faster than even the economy. And therefore, all this capacity that we have will be put to use. And I'm sure the 1 billion ton target will also hold this country in good stead. I still have to bring down a lot of the imports. We are working towards how we can further reduce import of thermal coal. There's enough and more potential for Coal India to grow up to 1 billion tons.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that there are many more questions, but this time has come to an end. We want to say a big thank you to you, sir. Thank you for energizing all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, we request Mr. Motilal Oswal to please join us on stage as well. We have a beautiful bouquet of flowers and a special memento. May we capture this moment with the Honorable Minister, Mr. Motilal Oswal and Mr. Ramdev Agarwal. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for the Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal. Thank you for your infectious personality. You made sure that we all stayed to listen to you. Thank you very much, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, as we draw to a close, we invite Mr. Rajat Rajgaria, the CEO of Institutional Equities, to please join us on stage for the vote of thanks.
Honorable Minister, friends from the corporates and guests from the investor community, and all my colleagues at Motilal Oswal, it's been truly 2 great days to hear 25 speakers over this time period. We started yesterday with a very noble talk